Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our discussion today. I'm Anne Iyer, the head of capital introductions at iConnections, and it is a privilege for me to be on stage with these two gentlemen, Mark Patricof and Carmelo Anthony. Today, we'll hear from these extraordinary individuals, Carmelo Anthony, NBA legend, entrepreneur, and philanthropist, and Mark Patricof, CEO and founder of Patricof Co. Carmelo's exploits on the basketball court are legendary, but today we'll dive into some of his pioneering business ventures that have put him on a similar trajectory. Mark's firm has been at the intersection of the space, working with 250 athletes to turn their sports careers into a full platform of investment opportunities. Throughout our conversation, we'll explore various aspects of investment and sports, delving into topics such as the transition from professional athletics to entrepreneurship, deal flow, and how Carmelo and Mark leverage their networks. So, without further ado, let's dive into our discussion. Melo.
Yes.
Your Syracuse team won a national championship your freshman year in 2003, and you were named the tournament's most outstanding player. 10-time NBA All-Star, 6-time All-NBA. You are currently the 10th leading scorer in the history of the league, and you were named to the NBA 75th anniversary team. By the way, all before your 40th birthday, which is coming up on the 29th.
Yes.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you. Couple days.
Mere mortals would have probably stopped there, but you are writing another chapter in the world of investing. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you guys for being here and taking the time out to hear what the hell I have to say today. These conferences are always insightful. They always, there's networking. There's always great people that you can communicate and talk to and get an opportunity to kind of step in and hear other people's perspective on things. So for me, I love these conferences. As far as investing goes in just that world, I would say I probably started 2010, 2011. And again, it was just myself and my partner, Stuart Goldfarb, and we was both investing in deals individually. And we came together and said, hey, you know what? You investing, I'm investing. Let's create our own fund at this time. And again, I didn't really understand the industry. I didn't really understand the game. I wasn't up to speed on information and just how it works. But what I did was I entrenched myself into it, and I just threw myself all the way into the industry. I was learning. I was putting in the work. I was going to offices. I was meeting with founders. I was finding new founders. I was, communicating. And again, although I was investing, I was still learning at the same time. And then we created Melo 7 Tech. With today, I think we're over probably 30, 40 investments with Melo 7 Tech. Some of the big ones is SeatGeek, Lyft, Overtime, DraftKings, and the list goes on and on and on. But I would like to say the work that I put in at the early stages of getting into the industry is what I'm able to reap today, and able to be in these rooms and able to speak about it and be able to understand cap tables and what and actually what it looks like in business plans, to talk to these people and figure out what I can bring to the table to help impact a lot of these companies. So it was fun for me to kind of start that off. And now just 13 years later of investing and being in that space, I've received a lot of information, and I've learned a lot, especially from guys that's on my team, just people around me, and just understanding. A lot of times we got to listen. We don't listen, especially guys in my situation. We don't listen. We got the money. We just want to spend it. We don't care what happens, but we have to listen. And that's something that I've learned a long time ago, that in this industry, you have to listen, because when you listen, you're going to hear something.
Mark, you have had an equally impressive career. Your hard work notwithstanding. Your experience was rooted in digital media, technology investing, and investment banking. Can you share with everyone when you started realizing the opportunity in pairing your background with professional athletes like Melo and the rest of your athletes?
Sure. Well, first of all, I grew up as a huge sports fan, so sitting next to this person, my friend, and we've co-invested a couple of times. I followed him. Is really exciting. I ran a boutique investment bank for a long time. FanDuel was one of our clients, and I sold it and had a little bit of a window to think about what I wanted to do next. I ended up co-hosting a television show with Rob Gronkowski, which was a sort of Shark Tank for pro athletes. KD was on, tons of pro athletes names, you know. And I spent a lot of time in the green room sort of poking around, just trying to find out why so few athletes were doing the right things with the percentage of their net worth they wanted to put or should put into alts, private investments. And I'd read all the stories and the scene 30 for 30 broke, and it made no sense to me because I knew, having spent that time, that these guys were just as smart as anybody else, plenty of smart athletes with better access and more available capital to do the right things with the percentage of their net worth they wanted to invest in, but just weren't getting the right guidance or asking the right questions, meeting the right people. I remember talking to Dwayne Wade at one point, saying, if I were you, I'd meet every single NBA owner. Every time I go on the road, you should go shake hands and meet the owner. He said it's a great idea, and I remember D Wade then he called me not long after that and said, I just met like 4 owners in the last 2 weeks, and the opportunities for these guys are so significant. And I thought over time that you could create a platform that both supported them, but also took advantage of their unique access, pulled our capital, and sort of did the right things in the investing space. For us, it was private equity. For Melo, it's more venture. But either way, the relevance and the ability for these guys to touch a deal and make an impact on the outcome was really obvious to me.
Yeah, and then Melo, can you talk about some of the similarities between your athletic career and your investment career? Obviously, the curiosity mattered a lot, but I would think some of the discipline.
I think sports. Me personally, I can only speak from things that I've been through and experienced. From my experience, the idea of putting teams together is very similar when it comes to investing and it comes to sports. You have to know your personnel. You have to know each and everybody's role that's on your team.
Yeah.
You have to understand what they bring to the table, right? If you bring a very specific skill set, I want you to work and be the best at that skill set. I don't need you to be trying to do something else, right? So unless you have to, we have to adapt and adjust every once in a while. We have to counter sometimes, but for the most part, putting these teams together and identifying personnel that allows this, whatever it is, if it's a team, if it's a company, allow this to move forward and work and move fluently and as simple as possible. I know nothing is simple, but as much as we can simplify it, the better it is.
Is Mark your point guard?
Mark is a good point guard. He got good eyesight. He identified these deals, he sends them over, and he let me shoot. So that's what happens.
So Mark, as you're working...
That makes me the all-time leader in assists. Or top 10.
Top 10.
Okay.
So Mark, as you're working with Melo and other athletes, what helps you differentiate which business opportunities are the right fit? Do you look for, alignment and authenticity? Like, walk us through, how do you figure out what works?
Let's put aside return, because obviously at the end of the day, the first thing you're going to do if you're going to invest your money, it's not a game, it's not entertainment at a casino. It is a form of gambling, but it's educated gambling. I want an athlete with whom we work to have a point of view and to respond to the company first and foremost. And I really mean that. So we have 250 athletes. All of our deals are offered to each of the athletes. Some commit capital, a certain number of deals at a time. But the goal for the firm was never to have every athlete say yes to every deal. It was to have every athlete have an opinion on every deal. So to me, that opinion should be based on reading through the materials, using the product. Melo and I did, I think we've done a bunch of deals together. Cholula hot sauce. I assume you like Cholula. Right? Bamba socks. I'm wearing Bamba socks today. So, I think it's not overly complicated. There's got to be an emotional connection to what they do. And for us, because we're looking for deals that are not going to be unicorns, we're not trying to knock it out of the park. We just want to consistently double, triple our money and recycle. These companies are well known. They're easy to vet. But the athlete needs to have a point of view on it. And if they don't, they shouldn't invest their money. There's plenty of other things to do with their money. They're not some category of capital that people want to glom onto and just get their money. They need to be investors the way any of us are investors. And that way, if the CEO wants them to jump on a call or go to a meeting or have a point of view on a new product the company is developing, they've actually been in the right position to share that. And if you think about it also, capital C culture is this group here. I mean, who better than Carmelo Anthony or any of the other kind of trend-setting athletes, at least that we work with, to point out what companies might make sense in the future and where they might grow. So I think there are many ways that this is a very unique group of people and should do very well with their investment dollars. And historically hadn't. When Melo started, he was really the first. Baron Davis we were talking about, but Melo was the first to actually institutionalize the way he looked at venture capital, found a great partner whom I really like, understood you couldn't make a one-off or two venture investments. You had to have a portfolio. You'd lose some, you'd win some. But overall, the strategy would show great returns across the portfolio, which is what you did.
Absolutely.
And how can I, as an investor, help that portfolio? And I remember early on, that's how you were thinking.
So when you get the call from Mark saying, I've got this great investment idea.
I called Mark.
How do you do your due diligence? What do you look for? What are the things that are important for you as you consider, like, yes, I'm going to put my money behind this and I'm going to put my name behind this?
Yeah, so early on, we started with, I was more focused on early stage investing, right? So at that point in time, yes, you invested in the idea, but you're investing in the founder. You're investing in the person. The idea is the idea. So for me, my role and what I was doing was to identify what these companies are, identify who's the founder, who's actually running this, or whose idea is this, and I want to sit with you and you flush this idea. Give me the 5-year plan on this idea, right? How you can get this going? What's the growth in this? What is the trajectory in this lane? What is the exit, right? And that's the mindset that I had, and I guess you're supposed to have that in investing in early stage in the venture. But what I did was it allowed me to tap into people first, the founders, and getting to know them and understanding how they operate and how they think in the room and how they think about this next product and how we're going to move this forward. For me, that's more helpful for me. Now, somebody else, it may be not the same thing, but I know for me, I need that relationship, especially with the early stage startup, because it's so many, as we all know, it's so many early stage startups and investing in these things. Out of 100, 98 of them don't go. So, at least if it doesn't work, I can say I sat and talked to a lot of these owners and learned a lot from them.
And that entrepreneur may have their next business.
Yeah, you just don't know. And I tell athletes, that's a good point. I tell people this all the time. You don't burn bridges.
Right.
You just never know when you have to come back and cross that bridge, right?
Well, and then also, once you make the investment, how much involvement do you want to have? How much?
Yeah. So again, that was a big, not to cut you off. That was a major point for me. It wasn't just about investing my dollars. It was about really understanding what type of impact can I bring to this company. And if it doesn't make sense, then I don't want to be involved in it, because it's not a negative thing. It's just I don't know enough to have an impact on this lane. So I'm going to step out of it. Right. And there's some companies that I've overlooked, that I've passed on. But when you look back, you're like, damn, why did I do that? But I just wasn't ready to invest at that point in time.
Mark, what are you saying?
We're a little bit different, only because of stage. So when Melo said people are what he looks at first for venture investing, it could stop there in most cases. You're building his relationships. We're private equity, kind of buyout investors. CEO matters, obviously. CMO sometimes matters as much or more. We really look to see, we won't make an investment unless we believe we can take the collective weight of the 60, 70, 80 athletes we're putting into an investment, that weight can move the ultimate returns of the business, of the investment. So if we can't drive value through the activation process, the woman who runs activation for us was a founding chief marketing officer at JetBlue and then Airbnb. So we have maybe a dozen different ways that we're going to impact a company already in mind before we invest. So we just invested in Bazooka Candy. By the way, Bazooka Gum is only 3% of the total business, but it's a $60+ million EBITDA business, way oversubscribed. We got in because we brought the athletes. We had already spent hours with major athletes, including DK Metcalf, and all of his ideas and brought them in to see the company. And so we really want to know that we can drive those returns. So we're only looking for doubles, the impact we have to make. We're writing $20 million checks, so it's a little bit different than writing $50,000 or $100,000 checks. Different risk, but we give up upside for protected downside.
Yeah.
So we're looking for those athletes just to drive that small incremental improvement in returns, which at that scale makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Melo. So I started by talking about your many accomplishments. However, like everyone in this room, there have been some disappointments. You earned 3 gold medals at the Olympics. Mm-hmm. But can we discuss?
That was disappointing.
Athens, 2004. Bronze.
That's disappointing.
What did you learn from this? And how have you had other disappointments that kind of shaped you and helped you in your career?
Okay, so what disappointments that I've had in 2004 Olympics? Well, for one, we lost. That was disappointing. But one thing that I've learned,
which by the way, in any other language would be a win, a bronze.
Yes. I mean, we have gold standards here in America, right? So when we go play in the Olympics, we expect gold. The rest of the world have a different mindset, and I think we should switch our mindset too. There's nothing wrong with thinking gold standard at all times.
Yeah.
It's thousands and thousands of countries out there. So if we finish in 1, 2, or 3, and the rest in the world, we good. So I didn't look at it like that. We didn't look at it like that. My bronze medal, we didn't want it because it was like we went here for gold. So that was my disappointment. But I'll tell you what I learned from that experience. I learned team. How do you put a team together? Because yes, we had big names and players, and we just put this team, so-called team, together in 2.5 weeks and said, go out there and face the world and try to win a gold medal. But if you don't put the right team together, it doesn't matter who the hell is on that team. If it's not a right fit, it's not going to work. And that's something that I've learned from that experience. And I've always kept that same mentality going into the boardroom. If this team doesn't fit, I don't care what this business is, eventually it's going to catch up to you. Right. So I've always carried that with me throughout my career.
Yeah. No,
and even so now, just being able to identify, again, I go back to identifying teams. I love, kind of using that analogy, right? I'm home and I'm meetings. I love saying, hey, you're my point guard, you're my center, you're the 6th man of the year. Like, I love just putting those analogies together because you really get a chance to get some clarity and perspective on who is who and what each person's skill set is.
Yeah.
I've learned that from, I took a loss in 2004 in the Olympics, and I've built on that. I built on top of that loss.
Yeah. No, and it shows.
It does. It's a lot of work. Like, I don't want to sit here and act like, I didn't put the work in. Like, I've really put the.
Don't worry. No one suggests.
No. We speak about athletes a lot of times, right? And that's a notion, right? It's like athletes, they just want to show up. They want to put their money up. They want to put their name on there. I would like to say, I'll pat myself on the back and say, I've really put the work in.
Yeah.
Right. I've really studied this game. I really understood what it takes to be in this game. I studied the losers. I studied the winners. And I also studied longevity in this game as well. So, there's a good and a bad. It's all about perspective and how you take it.
Yeah.
You're not against practice.
I love practice. This is practice. This is practice.
No AI. The other kind of AI. The real AI.
The real practice.
So Mark, stability and structure are such an important part of athletes' lives. However, the world is moving so quickly with innovation that structure and stability can feel difficult to maintain. How do you go about balancing it for your clients?
Well, I'm not sure that innovation and structure run counter to one another. I mean, I think there's innovation. There's always been innovation. I don't think we're in a special time of innovation. We're just in this time and we're talking about what's happening now. I think innovation comes from being a curious person, learning, thinking. I mean, we encourage all of our clients to read everything they can, to think about what interests them, to go deeper into topics. You can do that now. Even just a general athlete coming out of high school or college has so much more world knowledge, is so much more aware. That's a slippery slope for some of them also. I mean, almost too much.
Right.
But it's a time of innovation. I mean, we joke about AI. I meant Allen Iverson, by the way. But the other AI that we all want to talk about, that's this year's AI. It was NFTs this year's innovation. A few years ago, it was NFTs. I think, you know, being curious puts you in a really good position to have a point. And you got to have a point of view. So curiosity without a point of view is not that appealing. So if you're curious and you use that to create a point of view, then you find your areas of innovation that interest you, and that's where you should spend your time.
Yeah. All right, so both of you have funds here today taking meetings. Mello, your fund is on the hunt for the next tech unicorn with a first close scheduled for the summer. And Mark, your fund is a consumer buyout fund that's investing alongside private equity firms. What are you most excited about right now? And by the way, if there are LPs in the room who have not scheduled a meeting with these guys, get on it. So what's coming across your desk? Mark, why don't we start with you?
I mean, I'm always looking for what consumers find exciting and interesting and something I believe is sustainable. So for us, it's a lot of, you know, of the obvious categories: consumer products, food and beverage, alcohol. We're launching something new in the restaurant franchise space that we think is really interesting. Again, for us, it has to be something where we think the athlete capital base that we have is also curious and interesting in that and can drive value. But traditional things that kind of connect a human being, kind of habits and likes and dislikes, and the way you can navigate that, to us is always the most important place to be. We also like, you know, companies that have, you know, recurring revenue and real businesses. I'm not as interested in kind of the long putt or the you know, the three ball just for hope that it might go in. So
what about you, Mello?
Again, we're a little different because he's PE. You know, I'm on the venture side, so we take a little bit more chances on the venture, right, than PE. But at the same time, I get a chance to, again, it's not just one company that we're actually looking at. It's company that's making real impact in whatever industry that they're in. I mean, of course, you know, the numbers and the returns and all of that would play itself out, but there's companies out there that we're eyeing right now. I wish I could say them right now, but I can't.
Okay.
But there's companies that's on the table right now that we're taking, you know, some looks at, and also raising the fund, right? Trying to close. I think that's the most important thing, because that's hard.
Right.
You know, it's hard trying to raise money and ask people for money, and it's.
You don't say.
No, it's hard. I mean, we're
here.
I think we're here for a reason. It's very difficult, and you know, I found myself, you know, going through that process, and again, that's a new process for me of going out there trying to raise money.
Yeah.
Right, and asking somebody for some money.
what about online? Just because one area we're really interested in, I bet you know, where we could find common ground is online education, for-profit education.
Yeah, I think that's the next wave too, right? I think online education is the next wave. That's a great point. I also think, you know, that online education is going to shift the education system, right? And then the actual physical school system, and going into schools and sitting into classes. I think that's about to change too. I don't know what it's going to change to, but I think it's something that's about to change with that. But online education is definitely one that's big. I think we all need that, right? I think we all trying to figure out what's best for our, you know, for those who have kids, our kids, what's the best education, the style of education, the type of education, affordable education, where do we get this education from, right? I think all of these questions will be answered coming soon.
Yeah, so speaking of education and kids, what advice do you have for young people, for your kids as they're thinking about their career, as they're thinking about how they spend their time? Like, what's something that you wish you knew then as a child that you know now?
To pay attention. You know, I'm speaking about, to your point, we got to bring this information to 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds, like, because of the landscape of what sports is doing. Right? It's getting younger and younger. So I have to have these business conversations and investing conversations and savings and conversations with my 16-year-old, 17-year-old son right now, and painting this picture to him. Right, so he has the access of receiving that information. Everybody, I didn't have that access. Right. I had to learn the hard way. I had to go through it. I had to understand what it meant to network and be in the rooms and actually show up. And you got to prove yourself. Just because we're on the court and we're proving, we got to prove ourselves in other areas. So to that point, it's the information that I have to give my son is totally different than somebody giving me information 20 years ago when I was 18, 19 years old, because I wasn't even thinking about that. And now these kids today, with NILs and all of this money out here, it's a lot more awareness of
Right.
what's going on. And you know, a lot of these guys are actually searching and they want information. They just don't know how to get the information.
Right. How about you, Mark? What?
I mean, I'll be brief, but I would say for me, certainly similar to what Melo is saying, I have 2 daughters. You know, I graduated from college on a Sunday and my dad handed me a briefcase and said, good luck,
Yeah.
get a job, you're going to work tomorrow. You know, the too much opportunity can be a hard thing. What I've said to my kids is, your generation is going to live until you're 100, and you're going to be healthier in the last 20 years of your life than we will be. Medicine's better, assuming you don't have heart disease or diabetes or, you know, some type of uncurable cancer. You're going to live a long time. You might have 5 careers. And I say it to athletes all the time, like, you guys are retiring at 30, 35, 37 years old. You can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, you have so much opportunity. So I think this idea that you have to decide who you're going to be and what you're going to be in your 20s has got to be rethought. And I just think patience and, you know, again, back to my theme of curiosity, give yourself a chance to kind of mature and grow and be willing to have multiple careers over the course of your life. I think it's really important.
Yeah. All right, guys, we are running out of time. So let's do some rapid fire questions. All right.
Yeah, they're scared of these.
Get ready. Get ready. Oddest investment idea that's come across your desk. Mark, why don't you kick it off?
I've seen a lot of odd investment ideas. I saw a company that was trying to airdrop toilets in Rwanda, which I thought was sort of, on one hand, brilliant and genius. The other hand, the toilets would drop and they would explode and break. And there were no roads to come bring cars or trucks to fix them or maintain them. So that was probably the oddest. Well-intentioned.
How about you, Melo? Anything interesting that's come across your desk?
Like AI early, that I didn't really understand artificial intelligence about 10 years ago. I didn't understand it. So it was, you know, opportunities and deals on the table. And I'm looking like, yo, what the hell is this? I'm not talking to a robot. I'm not like, I don't want to talk to, you know, I'm not into that. So, and I look back now.
Now you are.
And and I have an avatar, right? I have my own digital.
Did you get paid up for your NFT rights? Did Michael Rubin or someone like that?
I kept my NFT rights. I kept all my rights.
Now what are they worth?
Again, I was educated by that time NFTs came out, but prior to that, I had no idea what AI really was.
Yeah.
So when I was looking at the AI deals early on before, I passed up on a lot because I just wasn't educated enough at that point in time to take on those deals.
Good to not invest in something.
Smart not to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't do it.
All right, yes or no? Are you worried that Caitlin Clark might beat any of your records? Mark, why don't you take it first?
Absolutely not.
I'm not in the WNBA, so I wasn't.
Me
My
either.
records and her records would be totally
And
different.
I have daughters. I don't know.
So
So yes, you are worried.
I'm not worried. I'm not worried.
All right, next sport that you expect to be in the limelight in the coming years.
Well, I think sports, the trajectory of sports is out of this world within the next 7 to 10 years. I think we all know, I mean, if we don't know, I think we all know what's happening in sports, the amount of money and attention that's being put into sports, from youth sports all the way to professional sports. So to answer that question, pickleball is one of them. And I think that's a sport. You have cricket.
You mean for viewing or for making money?
Investing or
Just what's
what
show me a
sport?
big sport.
Cricket.
We don't need a whole list. There's a rapid fire. One answer. Pickleball, cricket. You're going to give me a whole list.
Put me on the spot.
Oh, definitely not pickleball.
Cricket. I would say cricket.
All right, cricket.
But I'm looking from a global standpoint.
All right.
So I'm not.
I like that
looking from
perspective.
an international standpoint.
Mark, how about you?
I think cricket's really interesting. I've seen cricket in person. I think sailing.
Oh,
I think this new Larry Ellison sailing league is really interesting. But it's women's softball. But I don't think it's going to make a lot of money. But people are going to watch, more women's sports. But from a pure, like, if you look at the combination of what's going to get the most attention, and I think, by the way, I think cricket may be the answer. Have you been to a cricket match in India?
I have.
It's unbelievable. But
Not in India. Not yet.
You gotta go there.
Not
You
yet.
go here and
Okay,
by the way,
this is not
you go
rapid. This
you
is
could go
not
to Long
rapid.
Island and see India, Pakistan, June 9th.
I might
It'll
hold
be
you
very
to
cool. I might
that. I
go.
hold you to that.
All right, who has made the biggest impact in your life?
The biggest impact in my life outside of my mom. Experience.
All right.
experience to me has made the biggest impact.
Mark?
I mean, if it's a person, it's my wife. We've been together since we were 18, and it's just, that's been my person that I have learned the most from and been the most inspired by.
All right.
Other than Carmelo Anthony.
Mark, I'll let you start this one. If you could have one superpower that you don't already have, what would it be?
I want to know what the next $1 trillion market cap company is. Sure.
How about you, Mello?
I want to know what people is thinking.
All right.
That's what I want to know.
All right, we're at time. Thank you to our amazing guests, Mark and Mello. Thank you guys to our wonderful audience. Hope you enjoy the rest of SALT iConnections New York.
Thank you.